In the early hours of November 28th, the day after Thanksgiving, lightning strikes near Segunda Vines, igniting a small brush fire. On its own, this wouldn't be unusual, but this is one of the most dangerous times of year for fires along the coast, thanks to the Santa Lucia winds. These dry offshore winds can turn small fires into absolute monsters. Fires with a history of consuming hundreds of thousands of acres of forest. Historically, though, they've spared the urban areas. And at first, it seemed like this fire would be no different. The flames were racing uphill, away from Segunda Beach. But then, the wind shifted. The fire reversed direction, jumped the Verde Coast Highway, and tore straight into the city, igniting homes as far as the eye could see. And up until now, Segunda Beach hadn't invested in proper emergency sirens. But thankfully, the fire department had just enough warning to go door to door, urging residents to evacuate. But by the time the fire was finally contained, a huge portion of the city lay in ruins. From Segunda Beach Boulevard all the way east to Diablo Point, Mayor Beacon was completely devastated. Not only did he lose his own home, his children lost theirs too. Entire neighborhoods he'd known his entire life were gone. So naturally, he wants to rebuild Segunda Beach exactly as it was. But the city's planner, Jack Norland, sees this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He pushes for a predictable street grid. He wants to work with Clearwater Southern to bring rail directly into the heart of the community and rebuild around a modern train station. And while the mayor's a powerful voice, the development community quickly forces his hand, especially the MYRTLE Lopez family. They, along with other developers, scoop up land and pressure the city to move fast, favoring plans that are easy to implement. Slowly, a reimagined grid begins to win out. And by the time the state and federal government step in, a new vision for Segunda Beach feels inevitable. Defeated, Mayor Beacon watches nervously as the city is rebuilt into something completely different, holding on to hope that this version will be better than the last. In this video, we're going to begin the recovery. We'll lay out a plan for this reinvented Segunda Beach and start developing a city born from disaster. And if you're excited to see the city come back to life, hit the like button and let me know what you're hoping to see rebuilt. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a moment of it. Or just leave an emoji representing Myrtle for the sake of engagement. And without further ado, let's jump right in. We begin in a rather precarious situation. We've lost significant portions of Segunda Beach and we need to rebuild. So the very first thing that we're going to do is remove most of the rubble because you can see it's basically everywhere. So what I think I'm going to do is delete everything from here all the way over to about right here. And now that most of the buildings are gone, I'm going to get rid of all of the landscaping. And now that we have a clean slate, it's time to start laying out our new transportation network. Now, we're going to start out with roads, and I want to do something incredibly predictable. We're basically going to take the existing roadway grid over here and extend it out that way. But I want to think about roadway hierarchy and see if there are other changes that we have to make things a bit more predictable. And I think that there is one change that I want to make that's going to be incredibly destructive, but if it's ever going to be made, it's going to be right now. And that is, we have an alleyway right here that leads Segunda Beach Boulevard this way, and we're going to be reorienting Segunda Beach Boulevard, and that's going to be one of the core changes that we make to the downtown area. So right away, I'm going to get rid of this alleyway and everything along Segunda Beach Boulevard right here. And that's because we're going to realign the road to go into Dutch Street right here. Perfect. And now that is nice and predictable. Now to finish this off, we'll pull the couplet together right here and turn it into a proper 4-lane road. So one more realignment. Now the whole reason that we did this is that Segunda Beach Boulevard is no longer going to go straight down towards the shore. It's actually going to go this way towards the university. And instead, this road right here is going to link up with that interchange way back here. So I want to make sure that I have contour lines on to show you some of the challenges that we're going to deal with. Now, one of the things that we're going to do to make this better, because this is a major arterial, is ensure that we have constant slope and ground leveling on. This will make it so that I don't have to grade beforehand, and I'll get really nice consistent slopes. And I'm going to pull this straight back, and if I do it, it's only a 2.5% grade, which is honestly pretty gentle, not bad at all. Now, I don't want to do anything else with this for a little while. I want to focus on bringing this grid over. And the first thing that I want to do is just kind of get the measurements here. 176 meters, by 64. And I'm doing that because I'm modifying my snapping. I'm going to snap to the zoning grid and to zoning cell length, but I'm going to turn off guidelines because they're going to screw everything up if I keep that on. And from here, we're just going to grid all the way through this area. And I'm going to slow down momentarily because we need to make our arterial connection into Segunda Beach Boulevard. So I'll upgrade this to be a 4-lane road, and then we'll make a turn right into our existing highway. Now, we've got kind of a complex situation right here. And what I think I want to do is terminate the old neighborhood right here with a new road. And I'll run that right into this intersection right here. We've got a couple more blocks before we get to the Verde Coast Highway. So I'm going to finish these out. Now we'll link up the road that goes to the harbor all the way to this interchange right here. But I'm going to take it all the way back to there first and then redraw this. And now I'll just create a complex curve to link these together. And now we'll extend to the other side of the arterial. But this time around, I want to reuse the block patterns that we have over here. Now, before we head over in this direction, I want to link up this arterial right here to this arterial right here. This is the new Segunda Beach Boulevard. Now, for just a moment, I want to take a step back, and that's because we have a really important piece of transportation infrastructure that we must lay out before we do anything else, and that's going to be our train station. Now, what I'm thinking is we're going to place this right along what will be Segunda Beach Boulevard, probably right about here. So I'm going to back this portion of the grid back just like that, and then we're going to place our train station, and I already know the perfect one to use. The Terminus station that we just got in one of the most recent updates to the game. Now, this is clearly a very challenging location for this, but I'm not overly concerned. I think that as long as we are careful with the road placement around here, we can make this look really, really good. So I'm going to grab a road and run it along the back side of the station. But before I do that, we'll do just a bit of grading, and then I'll align this to the side of the building. And now using Move It, I'm going to make sure that all of these nodes are nice and tight against the station. And these ones over here don't matter quite as much, considering that there's nothing right here besides landscaping. But this means that we need to modify the things happening here just a little bit. And to me, this is an opportunity to work this into our existing grid. Now, I think I'm going to reestablish these roads over here. Now, this is a very good start, but there's one significant problem here, and that is roadway hierarchy. So we've got an arterial right here. This would link our highway all the way to the port. That's an important connection. We have a lot of important uses around here and even more planned. We've also got this major arterial right here, Segunda Beach Boulevard, that's going to link the college campus up to Lake Segunda. But we don't have any arterial connections over to this part of town. And if we don't create something, we're going to see lots and lots of trips hopping onto the highway right here. So what I want to do is create a couplet. And I've been eyeing this location right here. So we'll basically take Washington Street right here and angle it into this road right here and turn this into an arterial. So something very similar to what we're doing with this road right here. Now, to pull this off, we're likely going to need to use a little bit of eminent domain. And we'll begin right here. And I'm going to convert this right here to be a 4-lane road, and then we'll angle into this. Then the other leg of the arterial is going to be right here. And here's where the eminent domain is going to happen. Now, in the real world, all of these homes would just get larger driveways, but this is the game. So I'll need to eliminate all of these, and honestly, I'll get rid of these as well. And we'll replace those in kind in a little bit. This is incredibly jank though, so I'm gonna try to fix this. Now I want this 4-lane road to run all the way up to this arterial right here. Now in the real world, we would probably have some right-of-way that would be set aside here, and we wouldn't be using eminent domain on all of these homes, but it's a game, so we're gonna take some liberties, and you'll have to forgive me for them. Now that gives us a nice link all the way through here. We have to figure out where this road is going. So I'm gonna start converting this to be a one-way. And now over here is where the real magic's gonna happen. I think we'll end the arterial right here, and we'll make some big changes in this location. Basically, we'll sever those roads and get rid of this portion of Garland. And send it through like that. So now we have an arterial that links up all the way to this arterial. We'll be able to bring traffic through these neighborhoods. That's gonna work really nicely. And the last thing I wanna do over here is figure out this whole situation. And I think we'll use a little bit more eminent domain. No, we won't. We won't use any eminent domain that's unnecessary. And there we go. That's not perfect, but that's going to work out just fine. Now, before we move on from this area, there's a couple of changes that I want to make. We've got a whole bunch of traffic signals right here and a whole bunch of backup. I'm going to fix this quickly. And honestly, I think a couple of well-placed roundabouts is all that we need. Now, this may look like a disaster zone right now, but it is actually improving. You can see that we don't have quite the backups on this side that we had before, and same thing over here. So I'm pleased with the results, even if it is kind of messy. Now, I also see that there are lots of transit breaks. We've got bigger problems from a transit standpoint. Our bus barn burned down, so I'm not gonna worry about the bus routes until we have a new bus garage. Now at this point, we've basically finished up all of our roads that we're going to build today, but there's still one important thing that we have to do, a bit of grading. Now in the real world, you do all the grading up front, but this is a game, so we took some liberties, used anarchy, and bent the game to our will. Still, if we don't do the grading, all of our zoning is going to look terrible, so let's do that now. And this is really going to be the slope terrain tool. That's what we are going to do to try to make everything seem as reasonable as possible. We're going to grab the top height and slope to it. We're going to do that for every single block. And I think that this turned out absolutely fantastic. It took a bunch of blocks that looked completely unbuildable and made them look completely rational to develop. And that was the whole point of the grading. Now, before we build anything though, we've got to connect these train tracks. This is going to be a little bit of a trick, but what I'm thinking, I want to maintain full movement here. So we're going to use 2 single tracks. One is going to link up going this way towards Verde Beach. One is going to link up across the highway going to Presidio Bay. So we'll grab our 2-way train track unelectrified, double track, and take it down to half. I think that's probably what we need. That's perfect. And then I just want to make sure that I have an idea of where we're going, and I'm going to try to pre-grade things. So I know that we're going to be linking up right about here. This is 80 meters, and up here is 93. So I'm going to slope from up here and try my best not to destroy the hillside. And now I'll add these tracks, and reasonably half a unit's not big enough. It's actually 1 unit. And then honestly, it's a little bit less than 1 unit. So maybe I'll use move it to clean up the ends. And now I'm going to stop double tracking because here's where things are going to diverge. So basically I want to have a nice sweeping movement into the main line right here. And then I'm going to back this one out, and we'll do something that I'm not sure is quite the height of realism. I think that someone's going to need to let me know. Basically, I'm going to go forward and sweep around like this. Now I want to make sure that this is a bridge, so I will get rid of grounding, and I'm going to turn off anarchy to see if it lets me do it naturally. It does. It's only 1.3% grade, so the grade is great. It's just a really sweeping movement. But here's the thing. This is the end of the line, so you'd presumably be slowing down as you enter here and as you exit. So maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe it is a rational movement. And I love that I was able to do this without anarchy. I think it looks okay. Couple of improvements though. I think adding those keyed segments makes them look a little bit more reasonable. And then I'll just extend this out so it seems like we built the hillside into it a bit. Very nice. That is very, very nice. Now I'm just going to clean up this edge right here. And just ensure that we're buildable. That looks really, really nice. But you know what doesn't? This right here. I'm not sure what happened. Easy enough to clean up though. And honestly, maybe I'll just make this a highway segment once again. And with that, our redesigned transportation network is now complete. So let's move on to adding city services. Now, the wild thing about this fire is that I think every single city service has been impacted in one way or another, even fire itself. So we're going to need to go through everything and make sure that we have adequate coverage. So we're just going to start out right here with healthcare and death care. And I think we need to place another clinic in this area. We had one along Segunda Beach Boulevard that we ended up demolishing. It was a Japanese clinic. So that one had 100 patient capacity and 5 ambulances. So we probably want to have something that's fairly similar, if not the same building. And honestly, I think I'm just going to go with the regular medical clinic. But knowing that we now have a clinic right here, I'm going to bump this thing a ways back into the newer part of our neighborhood. This is going to be kind of a challenging spot because of the grade, but we're going to make it work. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to go with the vanilla clinic is I knew that we had some upgrades, including the ambulance depot, which will give us 5 more ambulances. We also have an extension wing, but I don't think I'm going to add that. What I'm going to do instead is add a road right here. And the whole reason for that is I'm going to level this out so this building looks as good as it can. Perfect. Next, let's focus on death care. And we actually lost 2 assets here. We lost both a Netherlands crematorium and a large cemetery that was right here. So we're going to replace both of those, starting out with the Netherlands crematorium. And I think I'm going to place this in a relatively similar place to where we were before, though I think I'm going to bump it back here. And then I definitely want to add an additional car park so that we have more capacity here for collection. And that's perfect. But we can't stop here. We also lost the cemetery. And honestly, I would have loved to just repair this, but it wouldn't let me. So I'm just going to replace this. And the other feature of the cemetery was that we had a church up here. And I think that we're going to rebuild that as well. So we'll need to make a couple of modifications here. And I think I'll just pull this road out just a bit. And then we've got to add some parking up here. Generally, churches, especially in an area like this, would have a lot of parking. And it's definitely something that I've dealt with. It's been a contentious issue in certain situations. But oftentimes, this parking ends up getting used for other community uses as well, which ends up calming nerves. And then finally, in the rear, there used to be a seating area, and I want to reestablish that. We don't want to lose all the history of this area. There it is. It popped right back. Okay, and I ended up getting thoroughly distracted and adding way more detail here than was necessary, but honestly, sometimes you just have to follow the fun, and that was fun for me. But we've got to move on to our next need, which is education. And we actually lost a high school and 2 elementary schools. So I'm going to replace those. This time around, though, we're not going to go with one of those large high schools. We're going to go with one of our urban provenance high schools. And we'll begin there, and I think I want to place this closer to our existing residential. And you can see that the size is not ideal with our current grid, but thankfully we've got a couple of interesting locations to add it. And I was thinking here, but we're going to need some sort of a recreational center. So I'm going to go with this instead. We'll place our high school right here. Then I want to see if I can place a football field right here. It's very close, but a little bit off. We can make it work though. Or perhaps we actually place it like this. A little bit of eminent domain. And then we'll add a new street right there. And that's because we need elementary schools as well. And I think we have an opportunity. One of the elementary schools that we lost was one of the urban elementary schools. So I'm going to place that right over here. This is a little bit too big to fit in our conventional blocks. And with that, we'll reach milestone 17, Flourishing Metropolis. And you don't really get anything besides loan bonuses at this point, so we won't take a look. We're also unlocking skyscrapers at this point, which is pretty exciting. Now, for the elementary school and the high school, I'm going to add all the upgrades. So we'll get that urban playground, which I absolutely love, and the extension wing, because we're going to need this capacity. We lost 2 schools after all. And then I'll center this in between the blocks. Now I am a little bit curious. We are having a pedestrian warning over here. And it looks like if I bump that back just a little ways, everything's fine. I don't love what's happening right here with this junction though. I'm going to see if I can fix this. And honestly, something like that's probably perfect. Let's also take a look at our high school and apply the upgrades here as well, such as the gym extension, which doesn't appear to do anything besides make the building bigger, and the extension wing, which will give us more capacity. Now, in addition to this, let's add some more sports facilities, like a community pool, tennis courts, and some basketball courts. And honestly, I think I want to reverse the location of these. And I'm going to swap out for this basketball center, which I think is just a much nicer asset. Now, we did shoehorn this in here just a little bit, so I'm going to make a couple of modifications right here to Lafayette Street. And now that's perfect. Now, I know that 2 elementary schools burned down, but I'm not necessarily convinced that we need to build 2 of them because our city is considerably smaller than it was before. So rather than committing to building 2 just because we had 2 before, let's take a look at what we need. And it seems like we've got plenty of capacity right now. So we're just going to leave things as is for the time being. And if we need another school in the future, we're going to probably place it on the hill. So instead of building another elementary school, let's move on to fire coverage because we lost our southwestern fire station. So I think that we'll place one of these kind of close to our schools. And you can see that the coverage in this area is incredibly bad. And that's one of the reasons that we're seeing some issues with buildings burning down now. So I think that we'll likely place this right about right here. And here's a couple of things that I'm thinking about. I want this to be close to an arterial, but I don't necessarily want it to be on the arterial. I don't want fire trucks loading onto Silverbrook Street, for instance. That could create lots of traffic. But if I bump this back 1 block to Hickorywood Street, we get the benefit of the arterial without loading directly on it. And the firefighters can determine which arterial is going to be better for them to navigate to. So we're going to place that right here, and we'll just sever the grid. And I'm going to get rid of Silverbrook Street right here as well because I want to make a public safety campus. And I think that placing a police station right here is going to make a lot of sense. We also lost the police station, so we're going to add a southwestern police station right here. And the whole reason I want that to be right here, and the whole reason I placed it right now, is we're going to place the upgrades for the southwestern fire station. And I think that if we situate these perfectly, it'll feel like it's one cohesive building. So we're going to place our training tower. I don't think that this actually does anything, but it makes it feel like this is a major fire station. So we're absolutely going to place it. Then we're going to place our firefighting helipad. This will help us put out forest fires, for instance, absolutely essential. And I love that this is going to be over the top of this police station right here, the helipad impact area. Makes it much less impactful in the surrounding neighborhood. And then finally, we have our disaster aid office. And this is the part of the fire station that actually searches buildings after a disaster. And if you don't have this, you can't repair a building or reconstruct it. So this is absolutely essential. This is going to go right here. And look at this. It's within that radius. And if I place it right here, the parking lots connect. That makes it feel like one full building. I don't like the way it's lining up though. I'm going to see if I can make this better. And I think I'll have to do it by hand. Not a big deal. And there we go. I just like the way that this lines up. It feels very natural and it feels like one complex now. Very nice. Next, let's move on to transportation. And this is kind of a big one. So we lost a taxi depot and we lost our bus depot. Now, what I'm thinking is we don't necessarily need to replace our downtown bus depot because we already have a new one that's close to Lake Segunda. So rather than adding a new one down here, I will add a taxi depot. We'll just go with one of these small ones once again, and I'll place that right on an arterial like it used to be. I'll also add all the upgrades, the garage extension so we have more taxis, the electric taxi upgrade, and the dispatch center. And the reason I'm comfortable with this being here is it's 12 taxis and they're going to be gone most of the time. They can also go out the back on Hickorywood, so it's not the end of the world that it's right here on the arterial. But for the bus depot, even though I like the idea of this being right down here, this would be a very expensive proposition to build this thing down here when there's already all the cleanup costs associated with this site. Building way out here near Lake Segunda would just be a ton cheaper. So what we're going to do instead is add the electric bus maintenance upgrade to this existing facility out here, and then we'll add some bus garages out here. And now I just want to speed things along to make sure that we have enough vehicles. And we do, but we're basically tapped out of all of our extras at this point. So we're likely going to want to build another bus depot at some point in time on the other side of town, especially considering this would create lots of deadheading issues and even more traffic on Segunda Beach Boulevard, which has all sorts of problems as it is. Now, before we move on from the buses, I want to fix the routing because a number of these routes have issues. You can see pathfinding failed, and that really comes down to a couple of things. Some of these streets that were bidirectional are now one way, and as a result, the routes are broken. In other cases, we no longer have stops, so it's a little bit of everything. So what I'm thinking that we're going to do here is make sure that whatever bus routes we have going through this area stop in front of our train station because we will add service there in just a moment. And then in all other cases, we just want to make sure that the routes are logical. We're not going to be doing anything extensive with this. We just want to make sure that what we have right now makes sense. So I'm going to add bus shelters right in front of our train station. And then I'm going to grab these routes and bring them right over here. And that has kind of healed them, but they've got all sorts of issues. Looks like our one-ways are creating problems here. And I think to resolve this, I'm going to try to stick by our arterials over here. So we've got one right here. I'll have the bus go down this road, make a left at this signal, and then we'll have a new stop right here and one right here. And now we'll modify these stop locations. And it is so incredibly broken right now that I think I'm just going to remove the stops and try to reorient a bit. And now that I've done that, I can see what's supposed to be happening. And the major issue right here is that we have a stop right here and there was no way to really get up to the train station. So if we want to fix this, what we'd have to do is probably remove these stops and find another way up here. Or yeah, we could navigate down here. That's the way that we'll resolve this. So now these routes are doubling back around right here. And what I want to do is have them come up here by the train station. So I'm going to add that stop, remove this waypoint, and then adjust where this is going because it's popping way over here. Instead of that, we'll stop right here. Now this blue line has issues when I try to have the bus stop over here. So what I think I'm going to do is add the shelter to the other side of the road. And it seems like that resolves my issues. And with that, I can add the stop by the train station. The interesting thing here, though, is that we're not taking the arterial. And I think that a reason for that is we're just too close to it. So I'm going to move this stop back a little ways. And that would make that left-hand turn a little bit easier. Perfect. Couple more issues to resolve. We have some dead end issues here, and I'm wondering if that's the stops right here. Those are no longer needed. Removing those seemed to resolve our issues. And then I also noticed this is supposed to be a one-way segment, but it's bi-directional. So I'll replace those and make sure that we don't have trees in the road. Perfect. And I believe that we have similar issues over here with these broken routes. So this was bidirectional. Now it's not. And indeed, the routes are super broken. So I'll add a shelter up here and I'll remove the waypoints right here so I can see where the routes actually should be going. And this light blue route is still broken. So I'll focus on this one first. Getting rid of that stop, resolve the error. And to fix that last route, we just have to go over here and resolve these issues. And it seems as though it's this bus stop right here. And this must be a looping route. And indeed, we have a waypoint right here. I'll close that. That solved all the issues. So we have bidirectional service. I'll add another stop right here. And then lastly, with that light blue route, we've got this new bus stop right here. I think I can just move this right in. And this actually doesn't make sense. So basically, we have this route coming up here, going down into our bus station, and then we're popping back up. What I think we actually want to do is add a shelter right here and go right there. Not perfectly symmetrical, but it's perfectly fine. Beautiful. Now, before we move on from transportation, we've also got to establish our rail connections. And the interesting thing is we can't do all of them. So right now, the Presidio Bay rail line is not completely done. So we aren't going to be able to connect out there, but we can connect to Verde Beach and San Martin Obispo. So we're going to do that. So for the first route, we'll connect there all the way out to Verde Beach and back. And then unfortunately, on the same line, we're going to have to go with San Martin Obispo. And we'll line up on this side and go way out to there. And then I just want to make sure that we don't have an obscene number of trains on these lines. Train line 1 is Segunda Beach to Verde Beach. We'll make that a nice bright pink. And then I'm going to assign just 2 vehicles there. Then our second line is Segunda Beach to San Martin Obispo. This one will make blue and take this down to 2 vehicles, just like the Verde Beach line. This time though, we are out of vehicles. And because of that, we're going to have to see if we have any capacity that we can add over here. And we do have extra tracks. I will be honest, I'm not super excited to add these though. And the main reason for that is I don't know that I want to add onto this facility. I might want to replace it with the new rail yard that we have. But that is not a today project. So what I'm going to do instead is see if I can eliminate any of these cargo routes. Now these 2 right here are not labeled, so I'm not 100% sure what they do. Looks like this one goes into our cargo rail yard, as does this one. I think I'm going to decommission this one considering it's not getting any use. And then I just want to name this so that now I know where it's going. That's perfect. So we have 10 total vehicles. We've got 4 assigned to cargo routes, and there should be 4 assigned right here to our passenger routes. I'm going to speed things along just to make sure that everything's working once again. And I had the strangest situation. There was a derailed train on this track over here. It was kind of glitching back and forth. And after I used Better Bulldozer to delete it, all the trains seemed to be unleashed. And as a result, I believe that we're in a good place now. So let's just take a look one more time. Now it looks like this route is finally working. Even these routes are working now. So we'll take a look at the San Martin Obispo route. Still no trains. So I'll wait once more. And it's fascinating. It's the exact same thing out here. So I'm going to just remove these using Better Bulldozer once again. To do that, you just go into Remove Objects and Sims. And then I'm going to use the radius because it's just a little bit easier. And then I'll just go and delete all the trains. Now that got everything moving again. I'm not 100% sure why things were stuck though. So hopefully this resolves the problem, but I'm not 100% sure yet that it will. But back here at our train station, it seems like everything's okay. We've got 8 out of 10 vehicles in use, and we were supposed to have 8 in use. And looking at the San Martin Obispo route, it now has trains assigned to it. So at this point, I just want to let things run for a moment just to make sure that we have passengers utilizing the service and that we have people going to both San Martin Obispo and Verde Beach. And would you look at this? It's a thing of beauty. We have our first train rolling into downtown Segunda Beach. That's awesome. That's so great. The one final thing that we have to do here with our train station is just take a look at the upgrades. We have extra platforms, no need for that. A bus terminal, and honestly, We probably should have added this rather than having the stops in the front. Let's see where this would add it. Right into the rear. I don't know that that's the best location for it, but I'm going to add it temporarily anyway. We also have a tram terminal, which I love. We don't have trams yet, but we might add them soon. And we have station services, and oh my goodness, we've got to add that. It makes this feel like a cohesive facility. That is great. So let's take one more look at our bus routes right here. I'm going to see if we can work these in. I don't know that it's ideal, but I kind of love it. So we're going to go with it anyway. So I'll get rid of these stops up here. And this will cause me to do something I wasn't going to do. Because we added these station services here, I think that we need to align these nodes to the facility. And that just looks a ton better now. For our next city service, we have to take a look at telecommunications because we did have a telecommunications tower burned down. Our service down here isn't terrible, but it could certainly use some improvement. And it seems like adding a telecom tower around here brings things into the green. My guess is though, if we were to add one of these larger towers, yeah, that completely fixes everything. Now, I don't think that I want to place this at the top of the hill up here, but I'm going to place it somewhere fairly close. And I think I might go with something like this. Maybe move it a little bit further over here. And my thought process here is we're giving this tower the height that it needs without making it the most prominent thing in the area. You can see that we're just a little bit above the tip of the mountain right here. So we still would be able to reach the other side, hopefully. I guess if you're a telecommunications expert, let me know if this would work or if I should just move it to the top of the hill like a reasonable person. Beautiful. And then the last city service that we have to add is park space. But I think it makes sense to add park space alongside zoning, so we're going to hold off on that for now. And you might have noticed I haven't done anything at all with bikes. That's because I want to do that in a more comprehensive way in the future, so we're going to hold off on basically anything bike related today. So with our city services in place, let's move on to signature buildings. Now there's a few reasons why I want to place signature buildings first. The main thing is I think that the signature buildings are going to be buildings that we actually modify the grid around, just like we did with some of our city services. And number two, I want to place our first residential tower. And the main reason for that is we have a major shortage of housing right now. And I feel like it's a reason why you might see someone have interest in developing a residential tower in a community of this size. Or at least that's what I'm going with. So let's begin by taking a look at some of these. And I think the first one I want to place is going to be the UK City Apartments. Now, funny enough, this used to be in the build and I replaced it when we got some of the region packs. But at this point, I think it makes sense to bring it back in here. And I'm going to place this kind of close to our city service buildings. And it fits beautifully right here. And with this height of this building, you would get a really nice view of the bay from basically the top, maybe 5 to 8 stories. Be perfect. Next, let's move on to some of the commercial signature buildings. And I want to go with things that feel very urban. So I feel like things like this sports bar right here would be perfect in a downtown area. So we'll place it right here, right off the main drag. I feel like that would be a really nice focal point of this area. Way too many traffic signals. Oh my goodness. We'll take care of that in just a moment. But first, let's place this baker and confectionery. And I absolutely adore this asset. It's huge, but the front presence feels incredibly urban. Very difficult to place though on this grid because of the size of it. And again, I think I'm going to front Amity Street right here. And then I just want to take a look at the sides because there is loading on one side of this. Over here, it looks like it's mostly doors to enter buildings. Right here, we've got a trash receptacle. So this is definitely on the right side. And then I'll probably place mixed use buildings right here to fill in this block and kind of hide some of what's going on back here. Next, we have this cocktail bar. And I'm going to place this fairly close. And we'll again reinforce this as the main drag through here. And honestly, we don't have a name for this. It's officially Main Street now. And we'll again continue to add those Main Street uses down here. Next, we have the Skylines Heritage Museum. And this is a tourist attraction, so I feel like having this close to the train station would be very nice. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't fit great inside of this grid. What I'm going to do is try to relocate this to a fairly flat parcel. And though this one isn't perfectly flat, I think it's considerably better and I can work with it. And basically I added a node right here with a path. Then I added grassy terraces, lowered this down to building level using Move It. And now this looks absolutely perfect and fits really nicely, with the exception of this tree popping through. Easy fix. Let's also place the Forum of the Arts. And I don't know that this one needs to be right on the main drag. Maybe we'll back this one away a little bit, especially because of its size. And I think instead of having this right off the main drag, I'll put this closer to the high school. And I'll center that right there. And what I'm going to do is put parking on either side of this so that people could visit this and park on the side. And I think for the sake of visual continuity, I'll do something like that. That feels really good to me. Next, we'll place the antique store. And this is actually from the Supply Chains Content Creator Pack. So I'm really excited to have an opportunity to place this. This really fits nicely next to some of these other buildings. And on a stream, we use this extensively. And I really like the way the side of it looks with a park near it. So I think we're going to do the exact same thing. And I think we'll go with something like this. And this is the whole reason why. I love the way that the side of this wall looks. It looks like there used to be a building here. It got torn down, the wall patched up, and it's really, really, really cool. And then the final unique commercial building that I want to place is the Sunshine Hotel. This is such a beautiful Art Deco looking asset. I feel like we need to have a fairly prominent location for it. So I'm going to put this right next to our city service buildings. And then I just want to make sure that we get a good view from right here. We don't. So let's pull this over here instead. And we'll have a really nice view right here, but we'll need to modify the parcel a bit. And you know, I kind of love this. I think this is pretty great. Sometimes you have awkward parcels and buildings are definitely on them. So this is great. Then we have a couple of really cool office signature buildings as well. So let's place some of these. We have our new interior design studio, has that nice old town vibe. So once again, this will go along our main street. And it's interesting. There's actually two sides of this that look really nice. I might actually place this way. No. We've got to place it like this. The main reason for that is that we could potentially hide the ugly part of the building with another building right here. And then again, to fix this, to make it look a little bit nicer, I'll add a node right here, add a grassy terrace, remove the path, take the node, level it right to the building, and now everything looks perfect. Next, let's place the Brand and Lifestyle Center. This is a very large asset, actually bigger than these blocks that we just built. So if we're going to place this, we're going to need to modify a block. And I think I might just place that right here, fairly close to the city county building. And no, that's not great because it's too close to those existing buildings. Let's actually place it over here by the train station. And then I just want to see how well this one terrain conforms. It doesn't look terrible. I might just leave this one as is. This one might be good enough in my opinion. And the final office that I want to place is the Livestock Exchange. And this is actually a really, really pretty asset. Really feels like it should be in a place that's really highlighted in your community. It has this really striking red roof and it's just very, very attractive. So I think that I want this to be in a place where you get an excellent view of it at all times. And I might try to get cute. I think I want to place it right here, even though it shouldn't fit. But I think if I delete some of the parking, I can make it work. So I'll force it into place like that, then delete the parking back here. And then I'm going to modify the surfaces. Now, the only unfortunate thing is that there are these lines that are on top of the asset. I think I'm going to have to forgive a little bit of imperfection though, if I want this to line up like this. And I really think that I do. I also had to get rid of this roundabout right here, which I thought was necessary, but this area seems to be functioning okay without it, so I'm not going to worry about it all that much. The other thing on my mind is the access to this. So I just want to take a look at the invisible pathing because yeah, it's completely wrong. And there we go. We have pathing once again, and all looks really well. And we have a nice prominent location. That'd be one of the first things that you'd see when you come to this part of town, which I really appreciate. Now, I did screw things up right here by trying to make sure that this building looks as good as it can. So I'll once again do a little bit of node trickery so that things look good. Perfect. And then finally, I said I wanted to add one tower, one residential tower, and we're going to do that right here. And we'll go with the Emerald Towers. The main reason we're going to go for this one is it's one of the shorter towers we have available to us. It's still considerably larger than any other building in the community, but it's not so overwhelming that it's going to look totally out of place. Here's the thing. We don't have a lot of space right here. So let's remove the paths, then place the building, and try to get it situated appropriately. And I think in this particular instance, we'd want the shorter building closest to the water so we preserve as many good views as possible. And that we've got some overlap in between these row homes and the tower, so I'm gonna get rid of these. And there's only 1 unit gap right here. So with that being the case, I'm gonna pull this back like this. We'll add the key right here. And then I will drop this down a little bit to try to make the front look a little bit less awkward. And then we'll hide the rest with landscaping right here. Now back here, there's a building that's always been in kind of a weird spot, weird situation anyway. You can see that it looks like we should have a building right here and we don't. I'm gonna try to rectify this by spinning this around. We'll see if that doesn't work. So what I'll do instead is something that'll be the height of realism. I'm gonna grab all of these, temporarily pull them over here, and place this building down at the corner. Now, as I replace these, we'll be able to cover up that blank side. And we'll find something that fits nicely here, even if that's a park. And then let's see what the upgrade is for this building. It's an elementary school, which is honestly pretty darn cool because we didn't replace an elementary school, and when we need one downtown, we can just add it to this tower. And I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty exciting to see the first skyscraper in Segunda Beach. Honestly, it is a beautiful asset. Revo did such a bang up job with these. Absolutely love them. And with that, all of our city services are in place. So let's move on to zoning. Before we add zoning to this area, I wanted to zoom out to this level so we can gain an appreciation for just how large this area is. Now, there are 2 reasons for that. Number 1, I'm going to zone this area relatively rapidly, and I want you to understand why I'm doing that. The main reason is this is just a big area. It's about 90 blocks plus a bunch of half blocks. The second reason that I wanted to give you this appreciation and give myself this appreciation is because this is going to be an area that we iterate quite a bit. And because of that, I don't want to get lost in the sauce like I normally do. I want to go relatively quickly. I'm going to think of this as the first layer of paint on a painting that we're going to be iterating and adding different layers to. And when you think of it like that, it makes you pull back the layers of detailing a little bit. And rather than getting lost in the details, you could just apply that first layer of paint and move on from it. So that's going to be my goal. I want to go through here and move relatively quickly. We're going to focus on the easiest areas first and then make our way towards the more difficult ones and spend a bit more time on those. So with that in mind, let's talk about what the land use picture is going to look like right here. So we've got our arterials laid out and we're going to have some of our denser uses along there. So imagine this arterial right here having a whole bunch of mixed use. As we make our way towards the coast, we're going to increase the density even further. So we might get a couple of high density buildings over here. As we make our way towards the train station, I want to have transit-oriented development. So I want a mixture of commercial and residential. That can be either vertical or horizontal. Mixed use doesn't really care how it's laid out. It just needs to have a nice mix of uses. And then as we make our way towards the university, we're going to start to taper down the densities just like we used to. So imagine lower density commercial along the arterial and lower density offices. On the hillside, I want to have single family residential basically everywhere. And then in the areas where we have existing development, I want to mirror the existing development patterns. Now, the only parcels that I want to draw specific attention to are going to be some of these awkwardly shaped parcels, kind of how we shoehorn the Sunshine Hotel into this weird triangular parcel. We're going to do some very similar things in this parcel right here, this one right here, and this one right here. just trying to make sure that the buildings conform to the parcel and don't just sit awkwardly in there. And because of that, those are going to be some of the last parcels that we focus on. We'll focus on the easy ones first. And with all of that in mind, we're going to start out right here. And there's one thing you might have noticed from earlier in the episode. I had Platter in the build, and that's no longer in the build. And the main reason for that is Platter is alpha, and as a result, it can have some issues, and I encountered some of those issues. I had a crash, and it led to a larger crash that I had to restore my settings file for. So I think that there might be a conflict with my mods list, so we're going to take this old school, and I'm going to use the Zone Tools mod, which is actually a new version of the Advanced Road Tools. So we're going to be using this to toggle zoning and focus zoning in specific areas. So I'm going to start right here, and I want to make sure that everything is nice and tight, and it looks like my zoning grid is actually pretty good. So rather than modifying anything, I'm just going to zone with the kind of zoning that I think is going to make the most sense right here. Some Netherlands medium density housing. And I think something like this is going to be beautiful in this location. We'll wrap this building right here and have an alley access right here. I mentioned I don't want to go crazy on the detailing. To me, this isn't crazy. This is continuity. And that block right there is done. These next blocks next to this, I want to add an alleyway. And I'm going to really focus on my snapping options for all of these. And the main reason for that is because we're using our vanilla zoning for this, which is what I want to do for as much of this as I can. I want to make sure that I'm not breaking up the grid. So toggling those snapping options is going to be key. Now, I think in this area, I want to use as much mixed use as I can, but I want to make sure that we're focusing our zoning in the correct location. So for instance, I don't want to zone the alleys, so I'm just going to toggle the zoning there. And then we'll run mixed use Southwestern all the way along here and focus that on Main Street. I'm going to go with some Old Town zoning right here and urban provenance for these 2 blocks. Beautiful. Now on the other side of Main Street, we start to have some grade and some terrain challenges. So I think going with smaller buildings will make them look a bit more natural. And I think on these blocks right here, I'm going to go for a mix of Old Town North American and Southwestern mixed use. Now, even though I said I didn't want to put a crazy amount of detail into this, I do want to look for things like this where we had the building clearly facing in the wrong direction, and we'll rotate it with Move It. Or in this particular instance, we actually have a piece that's not a corner piece right on the corner. So I'll pause this and manually replace that one. Not a huge deal. I had to place a few of these by hand. And I'm probably going to go through and just make sure that all of these are facing the road nicely. Because, for instance, this could look really, really good with just a slight bit of finessing. And the other thing I want to watch out for are areas like this, where the buildings are not facing in the correct direction. I'd expect these to face this road right here. So I'll make sure that we have the correct priority. Now, here we're going to be transitioning into the existing neighborhood. So I think I want to mirror some of the homes that we have over here, but then work our way up towards some of the Netherlands assets look pretty good. So do these Old Town assets. So I'm probably going to divide this block in half. And I'll go with the Netherlands right here and right here, some Old Town right here and right here. Then right here, it looks like our zoning is kind of broken up. So I'll do 4 units deep right here and then 3 right here. And I'll probably need to place these ones by hand. And honestly, I could just steal them from over here. Not a big deal. And it looks like the real issue is the zoning tool. Easy enough to fix. Now we're near the elementary school, and I think having some low rent housing would be good. So I'm going to place some of the Netherlands low rent right here, and I'll go 50-50 right here with medium density. And then we'll once again have some of our low density residential. But I want to look at what's happening here because it seems like some of these districts got a little bit out of hand. And here's where I honestly really miss Platter, because Platter would allow me to place these very nicely. And it took a little bit of move it magic, but eventually looks really, really good. Now let's move on to this street right here, which should be Segunda Beach Boulevard. And the first thing I want to do is control zoning. So I will disable zoning on the side streets. Then we'll go mixed use along the street itself. And for these 2 blocks, the entirety of it. And actually right here, I'm going to try something different. We'll go high density residential right along this node. Then back here, I'll go with some row homes. Now, by the time we get over here, closer to our train station, we're quite a ways away from any park space, so we're going to need to add some more. And I wanted to go with something unique, so I added a terraced plaza right here. This is the first time I've actually ever used this asset. And it seems like it's actually conforming pretty well to the janky ground here, but I'm going to still bump this up because that'll make the asset look even better. And it's a nice inviting way to see the train station, a nice inviting way to get to it through this park. And next to that, we'll add a bit of mixed use residential. And unfortunately, the asset size was a bit of a limiting factor over here, so I ended up going with the northeastern rather than southwestern, and I think it's going to look just fine. Now, near the train station, I think I want to increase the density a bit, so we'll have a node of high density southwestern right here and right here. We'll go with urban promenades right here to make this place feel a bit more modern. And I think down the hill to make this look nice, I'm going to go with row homes. They'll conform nicely to the terrain. And I'll do the exact same thing over here. Now, before we go any further, I want to draw attention to this corridor right here. That's because this is an awkward location. It's not very walkable. It's got great access to the highway and really good visibility. Because of that, I think that you'd see a whole bunch of auto-oriented commercial uses right along this corridor. And with that in mind, we just go with USA Southwestern low-density business all up and down this corridor. Now at this point, we've added so much mixed use that we have zero demand for commercial, so we're gonna have to wait for this to spawn in. However, we can add more uses up here, and this is an area that has excellent visibility. From the highway, you could see this very easily, but it's kind of difficult to get there. So because of that, we're gonna go with Southwestern low density offices. This is the kind of place that you might drive to, that you might wanna be able to see, but wouldn't necessarily make an impulse decision to go over here. Now, we've had some weird things happen over here with these assets, so I want to pay a little bit more attention before we move on. And basically, I just think that the assets that spawned in are not going to work. So I'm going to manually place these ones. And then I want to try something here. I'm going to see if I can place a park here on either side and still get this to work. Looks like I can, so I'll center these in between the parks. And then I want to have the same texture, and I just learned this really fun trick. If you use the vanilla replace tool, you select the asset, Control R, place it again, you'll get new textures, which is super cool. So I just had to place it a couple of times, and now these are the same. And I can do a bit of surface work and make this block look really exceptional. And we've got parks right here, which is great. Although, woof, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with that asset. And it appears to be deeply offended by the grades here, but as long as we zoom out to here, it's not that bad. So I'm going to forgive a bit of imperfection. I decided to use the exact same trick right here. And in fact, let's get the exact same color. And it's a thing of beauty. It is a thing of beauty. Now we've got more work to do over here with density, but I'm going to add some low density residential around here. But before we do that, I'm going to add in a few parks. And I want to draw people up here. So I'm going to add a dog park because everyone loves a dog park. A large playground right here and right here because every kid should be able to walk to a park. And then I'll get a bit daring and see if I can make any of these large parks fit in any of these awkward parcels. Because I would love to get a large community amenity in here. I just don't know that it's going to look very nice. And indeed, that is horrendous. So let's go for something like this instead. And I'm going for this one because I can manually finesse this to look nicer. And if this were Wisconsin, this would be a sledding hill, but because we're in Central California, this will just be a really nice walk. Although it looks like we're not attached to the road, which makes me think that I made a critical error. And indeed I did. I had it backwards. But not a huge deal, easy enough to clean up. So now I'll add all those single family homes up here, and I'm gonna have a mixture of southwestern USA and some of our waterfront housing. And for all of these, I just wanna make sure that I'm giving some separation so that things don't look crazy. And this all took a while, but basically what I tried to do is the more extreme the terrain, the bigger the gap between the buildings. And I think that in general, these all look pretty darn good as a result. Nothing looks too deformed. All we've got to do is add landscaping and this will feel like a complete neighborhood. And ultimately, when you have difficult terrain, I think that this is probably the best you can do. And that leaves us with a couple more blocks down here and then our awkward shaped parcels near the coast. Now for these, what I think I'm going to do is, well, first of all, I don't like how much density we got right here. These buildings feel like they're looming over this. So I won't be afraid to call a mulligan on myself. Sometimes you've got to do that. And then I'm not 100% sure what happened right here, but I think I'm just going to mirror the existing uses. And we'll do the exact same thing right here. And then for our last block right here, I'm going to add a row of mixed use, then extend this surface right here along with our invisible car path. That leaves us with our last few blocks down here, and these ones are all a little bit awkward. First thing I want to do is clean up this surface. And then I think I want to bring these green roofs right down here. So to accomplish that, I'm going to be very deliberate with my zoning, and then I'm going to plop some buildings as well. Now, while I'm waiting for all of these to spawn in, I'm going to load this area in with row homes. And then for this final block right here, I'm going to add a pedestrian road so that I can urban promenade on this block. And we have some Japanese medium density housing through here. I think I'm going to add some more. And I decided to convert these to alleyways to give them a little bit more utility. Now this block right here looks very jank, so I'm going to try to clean it up. And that looks pretty good. And then we can do something decorative in the center to make it feel more complete. And then for our final few blocks right here, we'll clean up our roads. And maybe in some of these cases, place the buildings manually because our zoning's pretty broken. Now, as I look at this, the only thing that I'm not really sold on is this block right here. And honestly, this block, even though it conforms nicely, is a little bit too big. And that is considerably better in my opinion. Now for this block, things kind of got away from me. This looks absolutely crazy. I think what I'm gonna do is de-zone all of this. And what I really want is some height. So rather than forcing things, I'm gonna let things run for just a couple of minutes, watch as our demand rebounds, and then add what I think is gonna be the most appropriate there, which is likely some higher density offices, commercial buildings, or high density residential. Now, our demand for commercial and office has not come back just yet, but we did get our high-density residential demand back, and, I'm not really pleased with the results. Thing is, there aren't all that many high-density assets, or at least not a lot of variation and variety for the southwestern assets, so what I think I'm going to do is replace these with some of the vanilla assets, and we'll see what we come up with. Well, that's regrettable. That's going to be way too tall, so we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board. And that looks a ton better in my opinion, and we can make this look even better by controlling where some of these buildings are. So I'll just move this one over here, bump this over, and then I think I'm just going to reserve this parcel for office along with these ones. If this isn't all developed, that's completely fine. I also don't love what I've done right here by moving this over. It ends up looking too samey. So I'll keep a couple right here and again, reserve this for future development. And with that, we've added zoning to basically this entire area. So let's move on to a bit of landscaping and detailing. In the spirit of not overdoing things, I'm going to focus on just a couple of things with detailing this time around. First is going to be street naming. I lost many of the street names in this area and I want to bring them back. Number 2, I want to add street trees. There's basically none on any of these streets, so we're going to make sure that we have a ton of them. We're going to add medians too where it makes sense. 3, I want to do a little bit of intersection control. So we've got traffic signals all the way up and down here. We don't need those. Let's give that some thought. And in a similar vein, I'm going to see if there's anything I can do to improve Segunda Beach Boulevard up here. And then finally, we're going to add trees and stretch surfaces so that things look nice and tidy. So without further ado, let's get landscaping. After about an hour and 15 minutes of detailing, our redevelopment area is complete, and honestly, I think that it looks absolutely outstanding. It's amazing what a little bit of landscaping and detailing can do to a build and how much nicer it can make everything feel. And with all of this complete, there's only one more thing left to do. That's take inventory of what we've done with a brief city tour. I'm guessing that there'll be broad agreement that the city looks a ton better right now than it did at the end of episode 18. However, that doesn't mean that this won't be an uncontroversial build. I'm guessing that some of you won't think that this is the height of realism and won't like that I called a gigantic mulligan on Segunda Beach. But here's the thing, I think this is fairly realistic. Many major cities across the world have been rebuilt as a result of natural disasters and wars. And here in the US, fire is one of the things that has shaped cities and caused them to redevelop. Chicago, San Francisco, and most recently Los Angeles being prominent examples. I think the most unrealistic thing about this build is the speed at which we were able to build it. But here's the thing, that's the beauty of this being a game. We can take some liberties, cut the red tape, and speed things along and build the city of our dreams, which is what I decided to do. And to that end, I feel a ton more inspired to build right now. There are so many options that have just opened up because of the changes that we've made today. This train station, for instance, is going to be the launching point of the tram network in downtown Segunda Beach. And all the bike racks right there, you better believe that that's going to be the start of the bike network. And this new grid has me thinking that maybe we need to use some of these new bridges to expand across the water, extending the grid across the water and having even more density over there. Let me know what you think about that idea in the comments below. And ultimately, for me, being able to spark that creativity is one of the reasons why I like a big build like this one. So I really appreciate you sticking with me and seeing the vision all the way through. And with everything complete, I think that we're going to leave it here. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. There's a million things that you could have been doing. You decided to hang out with me and completely redo half of Segunda Beach. And for that, I appreciate you and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.